have you gone from 392 in the last video to, wait for it, 184. So I might have a few yarny confessions to make as part of this stash busting video. Yeah, things haven't quite gone to plan. Yeah, keep listening if you want to hear more, and at the end of this video I'm going to be revealing a new pattern that is coming out in a couple of weeks, which I showed you in the last video. Well, I showed you the leftover yarn, I didn't quite show you the blanket. So let's get going. Confession number one. Yeah, I haven't picked up my camera in a while. So, you know, over Christmas I wanted to spend time with the kids and with the family, and so there was little time to myself to pick up the camera and catch myself, you know, crocheting. Equally, then January 1st came around, the crochet along began, and yeah, I've just kind of been distracted. So today's going to be a bit more of a, hey, this is what I've been up to, without so much footage of me actually making it and swearing and asking you questions. So let's see how it goes. Confession number 2, I had to buy a little bit of yarn. Do you remember this project that I've been working on? You know, the one that I started as a lovely stash busting project, but as you'll know from the previous video, I kind of ran out of yarn. Then I found a sample that I frogged, but still didn't quite have enough yarn. Well, I've had to buy a little bit more yarn to try and finish it. So I had to buy some more of the plum and the gold because I completely ran out. The teal, fortunately, I have loads and loads of, which I was given at a retreat, oh gosh, like 2 years ago now. I've had another problem. Yeah, this is the cream I have left, which I don't think is going to make me to the end of the next row. And I was kind of thinking of doing the bordering cream too. So I'm down to my last repeat plus the border. So I think I'm going to have to buy a couple of balls of cream as well, but it's out of stock. So this whip is kind of paused, and that means that I can't eliminate the stuff that I just put in. So yeah, that's gonna push the total up just a little bit on this occasion. Forgive me. The next one, totally not my fault. Before you even get started, not my fault. I did not ask for it. I graciously accepted it, but I did not ask for it. So we had our work Secret Santa, and they know me well. They bought me yarn. I mean, yeah, who would have thought that crocheting on every lunch break and in every single meeting would mean that people would buy you yarn? You know, go figure. So I now have a lovely range of cottony colours to play with. I'm hoping that I can find a project that will use up like all of them, because they coordinate really well together. So I figure, you know, one of those projects or patterns that are designed for, like, you know, the crochet calendars that you can get in Christmas. I kind of figured, you know, mini skeins maybe suitable for something like that. I'll have to do some browsing, or, you know, you could give me some of your amazing suggestions if you've used some beautiful cottony yarn. The last confession, yes, thankfully we're on to the last one, is my own stupid fault. So, you know, when I ran out of yarn for some of my projects, you know, one of them I will show you in just a minute, I went hunting for, you know, old projects that, you know, I'm like, well, I don't love it, I don't use it, let's just frog it so I can use the yarn. But whilst I was doing that hunting, I found this, and so this contains 1, 2 projects that need frogging. This yarn will not be going in stash, it's going straight to the charity shop. It is not yarn that I have enjoyed using, so it's going bye-bye. So, you know, that's neither here nor there. The mitten, however, and the other one is like partially completed. I mean, maybe I should keep it as a mitten. I don't know, because my kids are great at losing mittens. They've already lost one of the ones that I made in the last stinking video. But I kind of thought the red was maybe a bit harsh. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Do I frog it, keep the yarn, use it for something else, or do I actually finish the mitten? Could go either way. In this bag, I also found a load of chunky yarn bobbins. I was gonna make a blanket with some color work, and never happened. So yeah, I've got quite a bit of this in the bag. And finally, must have been left over from something I made, I found a load of little white bobbins. In good news, at least it's white. I use a lot of white, I use a lot of DK, so it's not going to hang around for long. But we shall see how much that boosts my total. not off to a great start. So let's move on to some happier things. Hopefully some good news, you know, it depends on whether it's a new or an old whip. And hopefully something that will get rid of all that yarn that I just had to add on to the total. So first things first, I finished the scarf. Yeah, she loved it. It was a Christmas present. I kind of sneakily stole it off her this morning, just so I could show you guys my lovely ripple scarf. And there's not too much left over. I mean, there's like less than one skein. So I think it's done its job. You know, it's used up a load of yarn. The bit that's left is the really tangled bit. So yeah, that might sit there for a while. And although you're gonna struggle to see it all, I finished the scrap yarn. So I did a, let me get this right. So I did a half double crochet corner to corner scrap yarn for my smallest child. As you will notice, the scraps did get bigger and bigger. So I ran out of scrap yarn around this stage. And as you can see, that's already a huge section. But I had like this whole corner bit left to go. So I dug out an old project that I had made, was semi-happy with at the time. I mean, my kid actually wore it, but compared to my crochet ability now, it was just terrible. It was, you know, a cute little pumpkin hat. And the pumpkin was, you know, a nice pumpkin-ish colour. But the stem and the leaf at the top, yeah, bad is all I can say. Really bad. Now, having frogged a lot of it to finish that blanket, I only have this much left of the original hat. But, do I put that into stash? Do I just handily ignore it? Do I bin it? Do I... What with trying to be environmentally friendly and conscious, I kind of feel like I shouldn't just bin it. But that means adding more into stash. And none of this came out of stash because it was an active whip when I started this series. So at least it's done. It's over. I used up loads and loads of scraps. I just might be adding a teeny tiny bit to the total. Yeah. I mean, good news, she loved the blanket. She sleeps with it almost every night. So things that have definitely used up stash, you know, these are all definitely positives. I made my daughter one of these beautiful wheat hats for Christmas. I made it in a really lovely purple. She loved it. It actually fit, thankfully, although in my opinion, only just. But she's gone to school wearing it this morning, so I can't actually show you it. But I will show you, you know, me wearing the leftover yarn, so that definitely goes out of stash. Equally, good news, bad news, I finished another tiny arch hat. So this was going to be for my friend's little boy. Did not finish it in time for Christmas, but it's done now. So that counts. And, you know, there's less of this left. So that comes off the total. And one of my best excuses for using up yarn recently has been making video tutorials. So, you know, I made one for the snowy mittens section of the months of the year blanket. I used random chunky yarn that I had left in stash. Yeah, kind of looks like Aston Villa colours. Not a football fan. That was accidental. Only issue being I wasn't paying much attention when I grabbed it out of stash. So this kind of purpley colour is chunky yarn. The bluish yarn colour that I did have in chunky yarn is accidentally Aran yarn. So not quite as I had planned, but you know, came out of stash either way. 100% from stash. So win-win. And the silver lining of the fact that I was like, you idiot, I made it in chunky yarn, or chunky-ish yarn, because, you know, it shows up really well on video tutorials. You can see exactly what I'm doing. But then I'm like, well, if I'm gonna sell it as an individual pattern, I kind of need to know the yardage. And the blanket's made in DK weight yarn, not chunky weight yarn. So I made another one so that I could actually weigh how much yarn I used. That will teach me for not weighing the blanket as I go, because, you know, so excited to crochet and just get on with it that I forgot to take out my scales. So, you know, live and learn, but pretty. Probably gonna make like a nice mug rug or placemat or something in my house. And then a few more tutorials. So these were some mosaic crochet tutorials I did. You'll see it's the same pattern as from my last mosaic crochet tutorial. I just reused the same pattern showing different techniques. So this one was showing off how to do the drop down double crochet method for reversible mosaic crochet. And this one was showing how to do it reversibly using the locking stitch method. So they did look a bit different, you know, people prefer different things, but I demonstrated both. I made 2 samples, that's 2 samples worth of yarn. And again, I went with chunky yarn just to use it up because I'm not a huge fan of chunky yarn anymore, so I just want it gone out of my stash. Now on to new things that I have started, all using stash yarn. Yes, you've actually heard me right for once. I have not yet purchased any new yarn to start these projects, and fingers crossed I can finish it without purchasing any new yarn. First up, do you remember this project bag that I said I was going to crochet? Well, I've actually made a start. This is the start of the bottom, and the reason that I started it when I did is that I thought it would make a really good car crochet project. So I needed something without color work, or at least, you know, one color at a time type work that I could do because I've got a few long journeys coming up. So I figured if I can get through all of the decreases, if I can get through all of the increases, then I'll just be into the, you know, repetitive round and round and round phase, which is perfect for working on in the car. So fingers crossed when I go to my nieces, and when I say nieces, I mean multiple nieces because they are sisters with a birthday 1 day apart, birthday next weekend, hopefully I shall make some good progress. Next, I say next, the only other project that I have going on at the moment that I've, you know, done completely from stash and is new, is a new pattern that I'm working on. A group of designer friends and I have decided that we are going to release a load of patterns together, and they're all going to follow a theme. Whilst I can't reveal what the theme is yet, this is my one. So it's not finished. It's got, as you can see, holes in it. So it's filet crochet. And I had 2 choices. Well, 3 choices, I suppose. I could have made it from teal, you know, that teal I'm using in the other blanket, but I wasn't sure how much I would need for that blanket, so I didn't want to break into that yet. I could do it in pink, or I could do it in grey. So all of those yarns, I had a good blanket size quantity available to me. Now, because of the theme, I could have gone either way between the grey and the pink, but I decided I wanted to keep it very gender neutral, even though I think pink would have looked really, really cute, just on this occasion. So, you know, grey for now, maybe pink for the next one. And now for the big reveal. I'm gonna shove it up here to cover my face. This is the new diamondy themed blanket that will be coming out in just a few weeks, so near the end of February. It does not yet have an official name, so if you have any ideas, please let me know. It's Overlay Mosaic Crochet, and as you saw last time, I thought it was pretty successful. The first kind of big chunk of the blanket was all from stash. I did have to buy more yarn to finish it, but you know, I figured it's a pattern that I'm selling, so you know, I can forgive myself for buying just a little bit of yarn. But I actually managed to guesstimate quite well. I had less than 1 ball left of each, so that was a resounding success in my opinion, in comparison to other blankets that shall remain unnamed that I did not bother to swatch for, unlike this one. Therefore potentially might have purchased the wrong amount of yarn, or, you know, had I swatched in the first place, I could have used more colours in the blanket and therefore not needed to purchase any at all. So, you know, live, learn. It all depends on how much free time I have when I'm doing stuff as to how much I follow the book. But, you know, new pattern, there's a win in my book. So we're gonna go weigh the yarn next and see whether or not I have managed to balance out all of the new yarn that has been incoming. Fingers crossed, because as you might have noticed, my total has just been going up. It's supposed to be going down. And a lot of this was accidental or inadvertent, or, well, you're giving it away for free. But the idea of stash busting is to have less stash, not more stash. So fingers crossed that my total reflects this time. Okay, so I have a lot of yarn to weigh. Let's see how we do. So I have some pretty amazing news about my new total. Yes, I had to weigh lots and lots of yarn. Yes, my stash has been ridiculously too big, but I have just managed to massively reduce it. And I'm sure you're like, wait, you just got a load of new yarn, only finished a couple of projects that actually removed yarn from stash? how the heck have you gone from 392 in the last video to, wait for it, 184? So this completely took me by shock. As I was going through Ravelry trying to find out how much I'd had in stash so that I could take off what I'd used and figure out how much was left, I found that making a mosaic tutorial sample in sort of Aston Villa colours was actually really good this month, because I found an error in my stash. Instead of it saying that I had 213 grams of that, yeah, blue, I had accidentally said 213 skeins. Yes, skeins, which means that I could basically remove pretty much all of those 213 all in one go. So my stash total immediately went from 392 down to 180. And then with all of the, you know, other stuff that I did this month, I only had to add on 4. So new total, 184.